All right, my friends, welcome back to All Cars Reacts. Today we are going to be doing the 2003 Honda Element reaction video, and if you've been paying attention, I've been doing square and boxy cars. I did the Nissan Cube, big fan of that one. I did the Scion, I did the XA and the XB there, and the Element seems like the next natural one to look at before I eventually get to the Kia Soul. So without any further ado, let's take a look at a car that honestly I never really liked, and I'm actually watching this to see if I can uncover why. So it's just you and me chatting again here today. Sit down in that comfy chair, grab yourself a beverage of choice. We have just some water here this afternoon, and let's get into it.
Your host for Motorweek, John Davis.
Well, hello and welcome again to Motorweek. We're glad to have you with us. When it comes to small, sporty cars with a practical, youthful appeal, there's no doubt that Honda's Civic is a favorite. But today's Generation Y buyer doesn't necessarily want a vehicle that's equally appealing to mom and dad. They're looking for something a little more extreme. Well, to meet that need, Honda is doing something they rarely do, and that's taking a chance. And they've come up with a new concept that they hope will find a home in this narrow and very fuzzy segment of the market. Will they succeed, or will they find themselves out of their element?
Okay, so ignoring the puns here, it's interesting that he says, and you would tend to think, oh, this would be more a younger buyer, Gen Y, really. A more active lifestyle kind of person. But honestly, I don't know what the demographics were on the sales. The only people I've ever known who have had these have been older people, more like my age or a little bit younger, who appreciate almost the microvan size of it. Let's get into it.
If the public reaction we got during our two-week fling with the new 2003 Honda Element is any indication of its future success, Honda is definitely in their element. But our time spent with the Ohio-built Element also revealed that even the most well-thought-out target group-based marketing plan can be completely skewed by reality. Because while Honda marketing honchos went to great lengths to explain how the Element is targeted at Generation Y single males, we found plenty of tot-toting boomers who found it mighty intriguing too. And why not?
Okay, before they go into the interior, let's talk about the styling real quick. I like the idea of this car. I like the idea of a car that just is a box. It's an incredibly efficient use of space. And once you get past your car being a representation of your personality, whether it's sporty or assertive or fun or, whatever BMW drivers want to be saying, a square, a rectangle, a box, a refrigerator box, that is the perfect shape if you ignore fuel economy. This is, and I'm a fan of Hondas, it just looks awkward. Even little things like they design new headlights that look a little bit like the old sealed beam headlights. Why? Then they surround it in black plastic. And if you look at the front of it, the little Honda grille is set up from the headlights. So this chrome, chrome-ish grille is right at the hood line, but then the lights are down here. So it's like the whole middle part of the car just got shoved up a little bit. And along the side, while I like it, it also curves, and it's black up there too. I mean, this gives off, for all the world, not looking like it, but it gives off the same kind of vibes to me as the Pontiac Aztek, of take a vehicle, but we've got to slather this black plastic on it or something like that to make it look more butch or to look more active off-road. And it just doesn't work for me. I love the idea of it. I just don't like the application of it.
Its cavernous interior is packed with plenty of innovative features that all generations should find appealing. But first, let's start with the way they're packaged. The Element's boxy, love it or hate it appearance is drawn from Honda's Model X concept, which debuted at the 2001 North American International Auto Show. The two-tone bodywork is steel and composite body panels designed to handle plenty of rough and tumble abuse. And the Element rides on Honda's global compact platform and is structurally similar to the CR-V SUV. A foot shorter but almost 8 inches taller than the CR-V, the Element's 62-inch track is wider for even better stability. The Element also comes with standard 16-inch wheels versus the CR-V's 15 inches. But then the Element really goes its own way with a clamshell-style side door configuration. With the front doors opening at a 78-degree angle, the rear doors at 90 degrees, and no B-pillar to get in the way, the Element offers a wide minivan-like side opening for easy loading of friends or furnishing.
And you got to love that. I like the clamshell option there. Instead of just having a two-door or doing a really unusually long door, having that, well, taken from trucks, right? That little quad cab door right there, it works. And then what they're about to show here is you just end up with this flat floor. It really felt like a skateboard with doors.
The low and completely flat floor helps too, and that floor is constructed of thermoplastic olefin top coat, or TPO, and coated with urethane, rendering it virtually indestructible and extremely easy to clean with a wet sponge. Also easy to clean are the comfortable manually adjustable front bucket seats, which are covered in a durable waterproof fabric. Both have 11 inches of fore-aft travel, and the driver gets manual height adjustment. But when it comes to seating options, that's just the beginning. Both front seats lay flat into the rear seats to form a comfortable recliner. Lay the 50-50 split rear seat backs flat too, and you have the makings of a bed. For cargo hauling, the rear seats can be flipped up to the sides or removed completely. Versatility continues with a split tailgate that doubles as a seat and a folding front passenger seat that lets you load items up to 9 feet long. Four-wheel drive Elements add a removable rear skylight to handle the tall items you can't go home without. Back up front.
And, that's all cool. That's pretty clever. It's a little awkward for the seats to fold up like that. But it's not a minivan. You're not stoning it in the floor. Lots of good thought there. I love split tailgates like that. Absolutely adore them. I think they are so incredibly useful. And I would like to say that as someone who used to mountain bike, being able to just stand your bike up in the back, that's an incredible amount of space for something based on the CR-V. It's amazing. That's amazing. And I like the thoughtful touches of the let's say rubberized floor. The seats come from the factory as being waterproof. Good thinking. Nothing earth-shattering there, but a bunch of good little thoughts.
Front, behind the tilt steering wheel, the driver faces a color-keyed 3-pod gauge cluster, and to the right, an abbreviated center stack that houses in the up-level EX model the controls for the 270-watt audio system with an independently controlled subwoofer. This system also features a port to plug in an MP3 player. The center stack also contains the large CR-V-style rotary climate controls and a rally-style shifter from the Swift Civic Si. Under the hood, you'll find the CR-V's 2.4-liter twin-cam 16-valve VTEC 4-cylinder. This high-strung little power plant produces 160 horsepower and 161 pound-feet of torque. Our front
Okay, before they get to those results, interior. It's okay. I guess the middle part is okay, and I have come around to dash-mounted gear shifters. I really disliked them a long time ago, but once you drive a few cars with it, it's actually really handy and opens up floor space. I don't like the gauges. To me, I like the idea of it being in a binnacle, and how not having a standard instrument gauge display right there with big gauges like Honda is kind of famous for doing, to suddenly divide it up into three, again, more like a Pontiac than anything else. I guess young people like individual three circular gauges like that. I'm not a fan. It's not horrible. It's not ugly. And at least they didn't make them like really deep set. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I just don't love it. And I don't have any problem with the powertrain. It's not overwhelming, but a Honda CR-V engine, it's fine.
EX tester briskly moved to 60 in 8.1 seconds and on through the quarter-mile trap in 16.2 seconds at 86 miles per hour. The engine revs quickly, and our drivers were impressed with the strong torque throughout the rev band. Our Element's 5-speed manual also received rave reviews for its preciseness and just right feel. A 4-speed automatic is also available, and so is the CR-V's capable real-time 4-wheel drive system. Element's handling and ride quality are handled by a toe-controlled McPherson strut setup up front, and due to the low, flat floor, a compact double wishbone system in the rear. That compact design cuts down on the suspension travel somewhat, so the ride is stiffer than the CR-V's, and its boxy styling makes it look rather ungainly. But those looks are deceiving, as the Element hustled through our low-speed slalom test with surprising agility. There's just a tad of understeer at turn end, and the variable assist rack and pinion steering is quick and responsive with a decent amount of feedback. Body roll is also minimal for a vehicle that looks so top-heavy. The Element's 4-wheel drive disc braking system is equally up to the task of stopping. With large 11-inch rotors and the EX's standard ABS and electronic brake distribution, we average stops from 60 in a good 126 feet. When it comes to the
about what I would expect overall for this car. It's not a sports car, so I can't really make a big issue about 8.1 seconds, 0 to 60. And it may have felt more secure through the slalom than I think it really looked. It looked like it was lurching a little bit there. And actually, from the angle they were using as it was going through the slalom, it looked for all the world like a little city delivery van more than anything else. Stopping, not great. Not terrible, not atrocious, but just strikes me as a little long. And I want to say, I don't know if they're going to bring it up or not, I've always had the impression that this thing ended up being really heavy, like comparatively, right? It just ended up being kind of porky. And I think that might have affected the stopping distance there. Again, nothing to write home about, but it's fine for its mission. So once again, if you look at some smart thinking and the interior and performance based on, a CR-V platform that's been rather modified, it's very Honda.
2003 Element's pricing and availability, there's good news and bad news. The good news is that prices will start around $16,000 for a front-drive DX and top out at under $23,000 for a well-optioned 4-wheel drive EX. The bad news is you'll have to wait until December to buy one, because that's when front and 4-wheel drive automatics and front-wheel drive manual Elements will arrive in showrooms. A 4-wheel drive manual will follow next spring. Only time will tell if this rather daring move for Honda in both concept and styling will pay off. But with its durable jack-of-all-trades interior, quality Honda powertrain, and proven 4-wheel drive system, and all-around frisky appeal, our bet is there will be plenty of buyers of all ages who'll find this an essential element to their driving pleasure.
Oh, God, please stop with the puns there. So I don't, again, if you've watched any of these with me before, I do not watch them in advance, and I don't try to do a lot of research beforehand. Sometimes I might spot check something about a specific model. So, for example, here, I don't know how well this really sold. It was around for a while, but let's also say that, once again, I believe that my what a fair price for a car was based on something over 20 years ago now. But I have the impression that this was kind of a flop. I've known people who've owned them, and they rave about them, but they don't seem to get another one. And I think it's because they didn't talk about the gas mileage. And so I have several opinions of this car. One is it was a little porky. One that it was a little expensive for what amounted to, a hatchback car, right? And that it got bad gas mileage because it's shaped like a brick. Now, that may all be just fantasy on my part, but I don't remember this being a good seller. You almost never saw them. At least I almost never did. I've known a few people who've owned them, and they have them for a little while and then they're gone. And in spite of all the utility it offered, it never seemed to really catch fire. I think that this car is not really in the same class as that Scion XB or the Cube, right? This is a bigger vehicle. And I think it's a really, really good idea. But even if I put aside my thoughts about the exterior, which is, I think it looks like a poser, is what it looks like. I know it's not meant to be a rock crawler like a Jeep Wrangler. This is more of an active lifestyle. You want to take your bike out, you want to take your canoe out, your surfboard, those kind of things. It almost feels a little big for that. So what I end up with is, it seems like a great idea, but with all that black plastic on it, what is it protecting you from? It just looks a little bit like a poser to me. And then if I put all of that aside, I wouldn't get one. And that's what surprises me about this. In spite of being a fan of Honda, I would much rather have a Nissan Cube, later a Honda Fit, even the Kia Soul, which I'm not particularly a fan of, I like more than this. So it's like I don't know what else to say. It's like a tall hatchback, but it's based on the CR-V. But other than providing more sheer volume around you, what's the benefit to this over a CR-V? I wish they'd done a little bit more comparison in there. I wish they talked more about the fuel economy you got instead of the availability in December. But it's a car that I think would be kind of cool to own. And I have this very strong feeling, I believe, this is another one of those cars. If I owned it, I'd probably just be absolutely thrilled with it because of how flexible it is. But I just don't want one, and I didn't back then either. So let me know what you think of below, and if you had one, whether you loved it or if you got tired of it quick, because that's kind of the feeling I get from people who just move on. They don't buy a second one. It was fine, and then they just moved on to something else, like a minivan or something that just got better gas mileage. I appreciate y'all spending a few minutes with me here today. Take care.